bedtime story.
So, what we think is that we might be blind passengers. You know? And you're on a slow boat to Buenos Aires. It will take you like 5 years on the sea because there's always tornadoes and sea monsters. Everybody has been talking about the sea monsters that you're going to meet when you're on the boat from Geneva to Buenos Aires. Everybody knows. And a lot of people, they were too scared because of these sea monsters and the tornadoes, and that they would die a horrible death on sea, because really it's not nice to drown. So just let us imagine that we're all blind passengers. And let's imagine also that we all understand English. Okay? Do we understand English? Yes. Verstehen wir Englisch? Wir verstehen Englisch, ja? Gut. Parli tedesco, no? Okay. There's always one Italian aboard who doesn't speak German. So I'm the first one. We're here. All life on deck is above us. We can't go out. Sometimes one of us has to sneak up and see if we can get something to eat, but otherwise we are stuck here in the darkness with all the noises from outside. And the only thing that we can do is tell each other stories. Most of the normal things that can happen is like, where are you from? And there's a lot of cities. Graz, Klagenfurt, Innsbruck, Linz, Salzburg, Vienna. People who come from these cities have other ideas about that city. People who know a little bit of history or music have other ideas about these cities. Salzburg, Mozartkugel. Vienna, the first croissant. Linz, a beautiful museum. You can extend it a little bit. Go from Vienna to Budapest, Belgrade, Sarajevo. Or you go to the west, take Paris, Leipzig, Moscow. 3 cities that bring together some kind of history. Of course, you can dive deeper into history and find other stories. But I want to start with the most golden city that ever existed. And everybody once dreamed about. But meanwhile, you're sitting here. Don't go away. You sit here. And there's some people missing, not because they died, but because they couldn't come with us. Maybe you spoke to one of them on the phone today, or maybe you met a person last week. But even you can think of person that you broke up with 7 years ago. Just be friendly, sit next to each other. Those are all people that belong to our lives. But each one of us has pictures on the wall. And each one of us has parents and grandparents, and they have pictures on the wall. And on those pictures there are people that you've never met and never seen. Let them come in. No. Each one has his own guest. Enough empty seats here. Just imagine that some of the people you know are here with us. So it will be a little bit more full, no? Not full in person, but also full with some kind of feeling. Because it's 5 years from Geneva to Buenos Aires. There's sea monsters, there's storms, there's hurricanes, there's tsunamis. You might drown, but of course you will survive. Anyway, the city that I want to go to is Jerusalem. 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 At one time, this city was the most magic city that ever existed. Oh. People had dreams about it. They didn't have a Walkman without batteries. I'm talking about 1,000 years ago. Our world was just as big, but it was a little bit smaller. I wonder if having so many countryside around you, and maybe the same old things to talk about every day, that there were less words in language. Maybe 300 words were enough to get you from birth to death. You didn't have to talk a lot, no? And then, if some message came all over Europe to every city and every ear about what golden city this is, what a beautiful city this is, where the roofs are made of gold. If you go there, you will be saved. You will go to heaven because it's already heaven. But it's not ours. It's other people who have taken it. And as long as those other people are there, we will be content. We will be deprived of our heaven. We will have more pest coming to us. We will have more famine coming to us. We will have more war. It's not that somebody came back from Jerusalem and said, "For now, it's just a shitty place. Don't go there. It's no use, you know." Maybe people came back like that. So, no good food, no good sleep. People, they cheat you all the time. Bad stories don't have long lives. Good stories, they go everywhere. So imagine that from all over Europe, when they said, "Hey, listen, we have to conquer this city," people just started marching. there was one guy on a horse and said, I'm going to Jerusalem. And then another guy on a horse said, I'm going the same way. And suddenly you had all these tracks of people going south. And all of them found a different way to go. And all of them were full of hope. This went on for a couple of years, a couple of decades. Who knows his history? Maybe a whole century. So what you get is, at a certain time, people don't want to be seen with other people. And they think of themselves as a little bit special. They don't want to travel with the normal people. So they build a kind of sect, a kind of order. Let's call them the Maltese Knights. Because they were so clever, when they thought, it's time to take a break from warfare, we go on a cruise. We've got a whole sea in front of us. We all know each other. We like each other. We speak the same language. And I heard that there's a small little island just in the middle of this thing that we call the Mediterranean. And apparently it's called something like Malta. So that's where they stopped all the time. And of course after some time it was more important to them to be on the island than to go to Jerusalem. Because once you've seen it, you know what it is. And since there was no hand from heaven coming down on you to bless you, or even God to speak from the clouds, I think it's just business as usual. And business as usual is to pay as less tax as possible and to get as lot of money or treasures or gold or jewels as possible, because then you will have the easy life. And so they did. And each time when these Maltese Knights were on their ship, when they were on the ship, more or less feeling good because everything went fine, they also started worrying because they have a huge treasure. And someday people will start talking about Malta not as the new Jerusalem, but as a place where there's a lot of money. So what they do, they have to find a safe place for it. Okay, and at this point my concert starts. Because what you do when you're on an island and you want to hide your treasure. First thing is, don't find a ways of communication with the people who live there. These people didn't speak Maltese. Maltese is some kind of hybrid between maybe the old Ladino, something derived from the Latin talk, and Arab. And why is this? Because some kind of crossword puzzle mind. Who made this up? The Maltese language is made up by the Maltese Knights. And here comes my thesis. If you can decode the Maltese language, you know where the Maltese Knights have hidden their treasure. So I hope you can follow me in this experiment, which is how you're gonna make a language and at the same time hide a kind of linguistic map, a kind of map in this linguist that everybody who knows the code can uncode and find the treasure. We are in the year 1100 maybe. We have 300 words. We don't need more words. So there's 300 Maltese words. If you put them in this certain way, you see, if you put them in a certain way, then you know where the treasure is. So what did they do? Well, somebody knew that. No, they couldn't know, but was kind of visionary. They said, first of all, we have to cut all the trees. So they cut all the trees. And then we have to find the highest point. And they went to the highest point. And they made the whole island visible with lights and mirrors. So if you shine mirrors and lights, you're drawing lines over the island, okay? And every line is a line of words. So you will have one place in the south with some places in between that are really remarkable. They stand out, a rock, a ruin, a castle, and a church. So you've got 6 words that lead from the coast to the point where you put the treasure. 6 new words. You do this in 12 because everything is 12 in those days. Okay, middle point. Also here, if people are here, they will know, the initiates, how these places connect. Because all these words that connect to a place will form one secret phrase. Okay? That's one thing. The other thing is, they have to make clear that when you come there, you have to understand that the language is laid out in that way. Now here's a secret why there are no birds in Malta. These guys knew a lot about alchemy. So what they did is, they had some metals and minerals that they put in the soil, through which they're gonna get some bread, through which the magnetic field in the island would change a little bit. This means that And if the birds come, they feel this magnetic fields and go in a one way, and they go in another way. Some birds react in another way than other birds. In every season, or every week of the season when the birds were flying, they were taking another route. And each route lined out where was the first phrase, the second phrase, the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, and so on until the 12th one. Of course, the first thing that you have to do to keep the secret, the real secret, is to see that no birds will come to Malta. That's why they shot him every season again, and that became a tradition. So if you want to become rich, buy a dictionary of your language and Maltese, go there and find the secret. This was my concert. Thank you.